So, how did you land on Section 8 investing?
Yes, well, Section 8, just like a lot of people, I had my thoughts about Section 8, and it wasn't too positive. I mean, that's just what it was. Initially, I wanted to fix and flip because, fix and flipping, that seems like the most attractive form of real estate investing. From the outside looking in, you take these ugly duckling houses and you turn them into these turnkey properties that look beautiful. They got TV shows about it. So that's what kind of drew me in. And then the property I had just had and made money from, fixing it up and then selling it, I made a lot of money. So I kind of wanted to do fix and flip. But then I realized like the work, like I would just have to keep on working with the fix and flip model. And I wanted to start receiving like income on the regular. So I transferred my strategy to the buy and hold strategy. And my aunt just so happened she was working with an investor, a local investor named Dr. Joe. He's a big time investor in DC. Just about all of his properties are Section 8. And she connected me with Dr. Joe. And Dr. Joe, he educated me on the idea of Section 8. So he took me to landlord tenant court. I went to a few of his properties. He was just helping me out, kind of like a mentor figure to me. And once he showed me and like how Section 8 actually works, it just really opened my eyes. And from then on out, I was like sold on Section 8. So that's how I started to pursue Section 8 investing.
So, what are some of the common misconceptions about Section 8 in your experience? And, how do you address those?
We know the biggest one, is Section 8 tenants. It deals with the Section 8 tenants. They're
Yeah.
bad, terrible tenants. They're gonna destroy your house, put holes in your
Hmm.
wall. They're gonna like your house is gonna be up in flames if you rent to a Section 8 tenant.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
still get comments like that, but that's probably the biggest misconception. And I try to educate people, let them know that all Section 8 tenants aren't bad. Now, there are some bad ones, but there's some good ones. And there are
Yeah.
bad private tenants as well. And there's some good private tenants. It's up to us as landlords to weed out the bad ones and try to find the qualified tenants. Another big misconception is that Section 8 properties are all like in the ghetto.
Mm,
Like people feel like that Section 8, like a property that's rented out through a Section 8 tenant, can't be like in a great neighborhood for some reason. When I tell people like where my
yeah.
properties are located, they can't believe it. Like a Section 8 tenant lives in like Section 8? I'm like, yes. And I actually encourage people to try to find good and upcoming neighborhoods to invest in because
Yeah.
that makes it a lot easier to find qualified Section 8 tenants. So that's another big misconception. And it's a big misconception about Section 8 landlords as well. People feel like Section 8 landlords are just all slumlords who only care about money. They don't care about the tenant. They don't care about the property. They just care about collecting the money from the government. And that's another misconception. So I just try to educate people and I try to lead by example and show through my experiences that you can be a Section 8 landlord that actually cares about the property, that actually cares about the tenant. My tenants, they love me. They're always asking, like family members from the tenant asking, do you have any other properties yet? What do you have any other property? And this is like a normal
Exactly.
thing. Like people always ask
Exactly.
me, do I have other properties? Because my Section 8 tenants, they love me. They love that I actually care about them. I just had to had to have some HVAC work done right before this interview. I had to go to my property. But yeah, I treat them as a priority, even over the property in a sense. I treat them with respect. I show them that I actually care. And you treat tenants
Yeah.
like that, then usually they'll transfer that energy to the property and they'll want to actually take care of the property. So yeah, it's a lot of big misconceptions. It's a stigma with Section 8, and those are three of the biggest misconceptions that I hear.
You hit it on every single point. To be honest with you, I experienced the same thing with my tenants. All of my properties, I invest in Cleveland. I invest in a suburb of Cleveland.
Okay.
And all of my properties are in nice neighborhoods. It's safe neighborhoods,
Mm,
somewhere that you would feel comfortable having a family member live. And my take
right.
on people who look down on Section 8 is that they want to throw trash and then expect gold back. You know what I'm saying? If you have a
Mm,
terrible property in a terrible neighborhood, why would you expect a great tenant? You know what I'm saying? Like you need to
exactly.
get a
Right.
quality tenant, you need to get a quality property in a quality neighborhood, and you need to take care of
Inequality.
it
Exactly.
so that that like you said, that tenant, because they understand with them having Section 8, that it's going to be such negative vibes from potential
Mm,
landlords. So when they come across someone
exactly.
like you and I, they are like, listen, I'm going to do whatever it takes for Tim to keep me in this house. I'm going to do whatever it
Exactly. Yeah,
takes for Moses to keep me in this house.
it's literally like
So
hitting the lottery. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. When I put out that I have a property for rent, I'm getting dozens of qualified people just waiting to say, please take me. Because a lot of people come into the Cleveland market because the houses are so cheap. You see what I'm
They
saying?
cheap.
They
Yeah.
come in, they so cheap, they buy them, and they just want to throw someone in there. It's really not even about the cash flow as much. It's really about taxes. They just
Mm,
want to be slumlords, unfortunately. But what you just touched on is a strategy to where if someone comes and they bring a quality approach to acquiring a property, maintaining a property, I guarantee you, if you do it the right way, you'll get a quality tenant. And on top of that, those
exactly.
tenants don't leave. What's the worst part about
Right.
being a landlord? When you have a vacancy. You know what I'm saying? So,
Vacancy and turnover expenses. Yeah.
yeah, I did a video on this, and a lot of people think you can't, request a security deposit. Who told you that? You can. A lot of
Right.
people
Right.
think you can't do a background check. Who told you that? You can. A lot of people say you can't do a credit check. Who told you that? You can. You can
Yeah.
have
It's a lot
all
of
these
misinformation.
things. Right. So you
Mm,
get all of that stuff and you get someone who's just low income, a quality person, low income,
right.
single mom, has 3, 4 kids in elementary school, and now they're able to go to a nicer school. That tenant is not leaving for
Exactly.
10 years plus.
Yeah. Why would they leave? They wouldn't
Why would
leave.
they leave? And then the
Hmm.
best part is that guaranteed rent. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So not
Yeah.
having to
Yeah.
chase not having to chase someone down. Oh, my paycheck was short. Oh, give me until next week. Those things go out the window. Now, there are some challenges, and we'll get into that. I want to make sure I hear your perspective, but the pros far outweigh the cons, in my opinion. Far outweigh.
Yeah. It's not even close. It's not. It's
It's
not
not
even
close.
close. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's dig into that, man. So what are some of the challenges that you experienced with written out for Section 8?
Well, like anything in life, there are going to be challenges. They're going to be learning experiences. With real estate in general, investing in real estate, it can be challenges. Like I said, a couple years ago, it was almost impossible to get an offer accepted. You'd find
Yeah.
yourself in a lot of bidding wars. Even clients that I'm representing, we had to just keep putting in multiple offers just to even get a property. But it can be challenging with my approach, especially because I try to have such a specific approach. I'm not trying to find completely distressed properties, and I don't want turnkey properties. I try to find the fixer upper properties where I can actually, if need be, move in and fix them up. And I want those properties to still be priced below market value enough to where I could add equity to these properties. So with my approach, you have to be patient. So that can be a challenge as well. Just being patient to act on the right property that kind of fits my formula that I got going on. So that can be challenging at times because sometimes like once like last year I found myself wanting to get into a bidding war with because I really wanted this property. So I try not to fall in love with the property, but more so just act on the deal if the deal makes sense. So I had to kind of back away from that because it came to a point it wouldn't have made any sense if I just went any higher. And especially if you're competing with someone trying to buy their primary residence, it's like they're gonna be able to outbid you because they're more so they're not looking to make money. So it's not an investment to them. So
Yeah.
yeah, that can be a challenge. And then as far as with Section 8, it can be a challenge dealing with the housing authority.
There
It
we
can be
go.
like
There we
different
go.
housing authorities. No housing authority is pretty much the same, so that can be a challenge. You're pretty much on their time. You could find a tenant and then not get an inspection date until a month or 2 months later, depending on how backed up they are. So, like I said,
Yeah.
you're on their time, and even when the tenant moves in, I mean, usually tenants move in and pay before they move in, but with Section 8, they move in and then you got to get your money on the back end. So that
Mm.
it might be a month or two before you finally get your first paycheck. Now, even though they're gonna cover the entire time, but you're gonna have to wait a month or so. And if you're an investor and don't have your reserves, proper reserves, then it might put you in a bind. So that's something that can happen. Yeah. So those are some of the challenges, and it's also a challenge with the payment standards. That's something I get a question a lot about too. The payments. How much will I get paid? Because you'll see plastered on the website what you can get paid, but different housing authorities operate differently. Like in DC, the DC Housing Authority, what you see on the website is what you're gonna get. Like it's no cutting. It's just cut and dry. It's in black and white. They don't care about utilities. If they say you're getting $5,371, if that's what you're gonna charge, then that's what you're gonna get for the rent. But where I'm at right here in PG is whatever you see, then they're gonna have to subtract the utilities, the estimated utilities from that. So that kind of alters things. And then some housing authorities have the estimated utilities posted, some of them don't. So you're kind of like guessing. And then it also depends on the tenant, like how much money are they making? What's their income? So you can have one property with 3 different tenants and have 3 different rental amounts that they'll accept. So it's kind of like, that can be a challenge for a lot of investors, not knowing exactly what they're going to get. I try to tell people just whatever you see, what they have posted, just 80% of that, and just kind of run your numbers off of that. But yeah, there are some challenges out there.
Yeah, you said it. So these are real challenges, but again, to Tim's point, if you have a system and you have your finances together, you can weather those storms on the front end so that it's a fruitful investment long term. So that first part about not falling in love with a property, that's huge. That's huge
Yeah,
because yeah, so like when you're looking for a property, you're going to hear, real estate agents that's trying to sell a house say it's turnkey. I'm gonna be honest. If it's not brand new, it ain't turnkey. I mean, for real,
exactly. Mm,
it is not turnkey.
right.
Homes that I bought with the assumption that it was turnkey, man,
It's something
stuff
wrong with it.
always
Yeah,
happens. It's
exactly.
putting lipstick on a pig. So what Tim had noted, definitely, if I'm misstating, let me know. But he doesn't want like a true, like down to the studs fixer upper, but you also don't want the best house on the block. You want one
Exactly.
that, some cosmetic updates,
Cosmetic,
maybe,
right.
yeah, mostly cosmetic. Like me, I'm not afraid to do some plumbing. I got a good guy that might do some plumbing, some light electrical work. But you want something that someone will probably be turned off by because it don't look nice,
Right.
but it got the bones and it's in the right neighborhood that you want. That is very
Exactly.
helpful because you can get it under market value. You can force some appreciation into it, rent it out, and then
Mm,
pull your money out. Hopefully, all your money at some point
exactly.
if you're doing a full
Hopefully, yeah,
burr.
because with
Yeah,
cosmetic, it's gonna add the most value to it anyway.
there you
The
go.
cosmetics, the kitchens and bathrooms, flooring, paint. I mean, that's the stuff you
Yeah,
want to be wrong with the property. Yeah.
exactly. The people that don't want to come in and, deal with that. So when you're dealing with someone who's looking to buy their primary residence, they don't want to deal with that. They want to come in and they want to
Right.
move
Right.
their stuff
Exactly.
in and, have a housewarming party.
Mm,
Then you brought
right.
up to me like the worst part about Section 8 investing, which is dealing with the housing authority. So
Yeah.
yeah, the housing authority, I don't know if they overwork or they just have the worst customer service, but they
Man.
really are so slow. And it's
Yeah.
horrible. It's kind of one of those things like now that I'm in it, it's really horrible because these people are out here, they need housing ASAP, right? They already have this negative stigma over their head about how bad Section 8 is. Then you add this layer of delays and lack of communication, and it really will make a landlord say, you know what, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with
Yeah.
that.
Just throw up your hands
Just
like
give
I'm
me a
done with
cash
it.
customer and let me get up out of here. So it's
Exactly.
unfortunate for those tenants because they literally are sitting on like a golden ticket and they can't use it
Mm,
because of the
right.
the the process, and it shouldn't take 2 months to place a tenant. But unfortunately, in most markets I'm aware of, you're looking at about a 2-month period,
About two
and
months. Yeah. That's about
yeah,
probably average.
And at that point, if you have a mortgage, you're paying the mortgage for 2 months with no
You paying,
payment.
yeah.
You're paying
Mm-hmm.
utilities. I mean, it won't be pretty high, but still, you still have some expenses with no money coming in.
Right.
So that's a bad part.
Exactly.
Then you noted about the rent standards. So early in
Oh
my
yeah,
my
yeah.
yeah, early in my career, I got caught up with that because you go to these websites and it'll give you this range of what rent you'll get. And you'll think, okay, yeah, it says $2,000. I'm gonna say I want 2,000, and if it falls within that range, you'll get it. But depending on the housing authority, they calculate the rent differently. They calculate it differently.
Exactly.
So what I've done, I don't know if you do this, Tim. I actually include water, sewer, trash. I include that in my rent because to me it works out better. I'll get a higher rent overall if I do that. Whereas if I say, hey, if I just want my rent, you pay all utilities, it seemed like the housing authority deducts a whole lot more of what I would
Yeah,
pay, to be honest. So what's
yeah,
your
yeah. They
opinion on
do.
that?
They do.
They do? Okay,
Because
so it's the
when
same.
they calculate it, because this one property, when they calculate the rent, because they go off of, okay, is it a how many bedrooms, is it electric, is it gas, is it what's this, what's that, and the payments are like extremely high. I'm like,
Yeah.
the rent is, I mean, the utilities aren't that much, but they overestimate what the utilities are going to be, and that's how they kind of get you. So if you do, I do know some landlords do include the utilities or at least the water. I've heard stories from tenants having $1,000 water bills and just craziness. So I just put the utilities on the tenant, and I just collect what I can collect.
When I had a tenant in one of my homes that was responsible for the water, right?
Mm-hmm.
When the tenant moved out, and this was a cash tenant. So this is before I was 100% Section 8.
Okay.
So the tenant was responsible for the water in the sewer. So when they moved out and I wanted to switch it in my name, it turns out they had never paid the water and sewer the whole time.
Oh my god.
So my first question was, why y'all
And you
didn't
said
turn
that.
the
Wait, hold up.
water
And
off?
you said this was a cash tenant, right?
This was a cash tenant. Okay.
See?
And my question to the water company is, hey, why didn't you guys pick, just turn the water off then? Like, and their response was like, hey, we do not disconnect water services. It's ultimately the responsibility of the homeowner. So
Mm.
that's why in my market, it was like, oh, whoa, if this is going to be the case, I might as well put it in my name on the front end and charge extra with the housing authority to make sure I get that month over month with my Section 8 payment.
Yeah,
The other
yeah.
thing you
I
noted,
understand that.
yeah, the other thing you noted is like, what if you have $1,000 water bill? I think we can all agree that $1,000 water bill is probably not going to be from true usage, like month over month. So if you
Well,
see like
well,
leaks, I actually got a situation
yeah.
with that now, where you can kind of get in front of it and say, "Hey, man, I'm noticing the water bill is double, or are the toilets running? Yeah, is there something going on?" So I honestly like having visibility into the water because that's something you can manage and
Hmm.
get in front of. Well, I don't do electric and gas, but water and sewer, honestly, I don't even know what the sewer bill is. I'm gonna be honest. But we
Yeah,
pay it. It's
I
just
think
money
they're
that
kind of
they
like
collect.
like just. I was gonna say with the water, it's like that in Maryland here. Like ultimately, the owner is responsible. So the account is in my name, but I add the tenant to the account. So they'll send the bills to her, like more so of a courtesy. So the bill is in her name, but the account is in my name. So if she doesn't pay, well, they send both of us a copy of the bill. So I'm able to see what the bill is, and I'm able to see if it's getting paid or not. So after like 3 months, because the bills come quarterly, if they don't pay it, they'll send me a reminder, and I can get on the tenant like, hey,
Mm.
the water bill is due. WSSC just contacted me. You need to get on top of this. So that's how it is in Maryland. But in Texas, with my property in Texas, I really do enjoy investing in Texas. The water is just completely in the tenant's name. So it's like they're the account is in their name, the bill is in their name. It's on them pretty much. It's not my responsibility. Everything, all the utilities is their responsibility. So that's definitely a benefit. But yeah, here in Maryland, yeah, it's ultimately up to the owner.
So you invest in Texas, and you sound like you said you like that experience.
Yeah, yeah,
To some people who feel like, some people might not know that there's some tenant-friendly states and there's some landlord-friendly
mm,
states. And
right,
this is not a political show, right?
right.
But really, like, if you kind of just look at red states as your guide
The Reds,
versus blue states,
hmm
you pretty much are going to be in good shape. So I would
yeah,
invest
yeah,
more in red, maybe purple, but when you start going into blue states, man, you talk about New
mm,
York, New Jersey, California,
California, yeah, yeah,
they uninvestable, man. Like
yeah,
you can't, especially
yeah,
like
yeah. Well, no, it's
a smaller investor. I mean, if you're doing
yeah,
like
the smaller one,
major
yeah,
commercial, yes. But for
hmm
multifamily, single family operations, seven, 6, 7 figure operations, I would say I would avoid those. But what would you say?
yeah. Well, it can be done. I do know some investors out in
Mhm.
California and New York. It can be done, but it is a lot. You can get taken advantage of a lot easier. It's like the landlord tenant laws there, they're very favorable to the tenant. And like there was just one case, the lady was living in a house for like a year without paying. And I
Yeah,
think it was like an
yeah,
Airbnb. So yeah, you can easily be taken advantage of. You really have to protect yourself. You gotta protect
yeah,
yourself. You gotta like make sure all of your I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and don't be a mark for professional tenants and try not to get taken advantage of. So yeah, but especially in
professional
those states,
tenants.
you got to.
Yeah, that's crazy. But these people out here that really know the law and they come in, they'll say, "Oh yeah, I'll have your first month, last month security deposit," and they have
Hmm.
no intention on paying you ever again.
Yeah, that's all
It's
the
just
money. That's
over.
all they're gonna pay you. They give you the
That's
first and last
crazy.
months, and don't pay no more.
Yeah, yeah. Do you manage your properties? Well, obviously the one
Yeah,
in Texas. Talk about your property management strategy.
with the property in Texas, I said I was gonna give myself a year of managing that to see how it goes.
Hmm.
You can always hire a property manager if you need to. And so far it's been so good. I do give advice on certain steps you need to take if you want to manage your own out of state property. Of course, if you can, it's easier to manage an in state property or a property that's within 30 to 45 minutes from you. I would well, I was a different case more so because I'm self-employed. I'm able to travel a lot, and I frequent Texas a lot anyway. Me and my wife we go to Houston a lot, and I'm able to hop on a plane if need be. So, and I get home warranties on all of my properties. So it was a little different with me, just being able to just jump up and go if I need to. I don't have to go to a 9 to 5.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't suggest it if you have too much responsibility where you are. Because it can get stressful at times if you don't have system set up, and especially if you gotta like say if you gotta go to work or something and you're dealing with a tenant who's having an issue and you gotta like try to find a way to fix it. That can be stressful. But I do encourage people like if you want to try it. I mean, it's you can always get a property manager if it's not working out for you. Property managers and property management companies, I feel like in the coming years, they're gonna become less popular because companies like Turbo Tenant, they're making it easier to self manage properties. They're like they just partnered with Lula Management. I think it's a company that handles all of your maintenance requests, your repairs. So you're able to manage on your phone just no matter where you are. I think they're live like in 7 or 9 states right now, but they're growing. But yeah, I believe it's going to be a lot more companies helping people self-manage properties. That's how right now I'm managing it myself. I've saved a ton of money than if I would have had a property manager
Yeah.
taking it because that would have been like $200 every single month. And right now, like maybe 8 or 9 months in, I haven't spent nowhere near that amount. And I've had a few hiccups, but I mean they were all manageable. So, but it's not going to be like that for everybody though. So that's another thing too. Everyone's situation will be different. I've done a lot of due diligence on the front end to try to make sure I protected myself. But you can always get a property manager if you feel like it's too much or overwhelming for you.
Yeah. I I've never. use the property manager. So I live in Atlanta. My properties are in the Cleveland area. Part of the reason, is because of the cost. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Giving someone 10% plus of my
Right. Yeah, because it's gonna be more
gross
than that.
rent,
Yeah.
woo, it's just a lot. So what I ended up doing, I found this company called Hemlane,
Okay.
Hemlane, Hemlane. And the reason why I decided to
Okay.
go with them as my software is because they're all across the country. So they're in all 50 states. So as I grow my
Okay.
portfolio, and if I want to go out of Cleveland, if I want to go to Texas, Missouri, whatever, I can use this one platform. They have different tiers. So they have it where you just use the software, that's the lowest tier. Then you have like repair coordination, that's the second tier. Then you go up to like the full tier where they actually not only coordinate the repairs, but they actually have a network of service pros that will actually go
Mm.
to the property for you. So when I
Mm.
first started, I used like the top tier. They would, put pros out there for you. But once I built my team, and this is what I would tell people, like, to Tim's point, you do have to travel up there. I travel less frequently now because I truly have a team. I have my landscape person. If you're in a market where it snows, you need a snowplow person. You need
Mm.
a handyman. Like, you don't want to pay
The
like
handyman
service.
is important.
Yeah, handyman is huge. You don't want to pay like
Yeah.
these service calls just for somebody to change a light bulb or change
Right.
batteries in a garage. Like, you need somebody that you can trust that can do the little odd jobs. You know what I'm saying? You need that person on
Mm.
deck.
Right.
And what I tell people though, it's a lot of, you're gonna have some trust too. Because when you're
Right.
not there, I use services like Thumbtack at one point as well to just find
Mm.
local help. And what I always would
Mm-hmm.
do is I communicate with my tenant. So that's why it's good to have a good relationship. I say, well, how was the person that came to the house? Did they have good service? Did they have a good brand? And based off the feedback from my tenants and how the communication is between me and the person, I start them off small. I give them a small job, and then I give them a bigger job. Then I give them a job that
Mm.
maybe has a faster turnaround time to see if they can meet my needs. And what I always do, even if I don't like the job, I always pay on time. That's the thing.
Right.
Always pay because you want somebody to be in a position to stop what they're doing and take care of your home because you're going to always pay.
Mm-hmm.
Don't nickel and dime
Right.
or nothing like that. Because at that point, the job is already done. Just pay them, don't use them again. But once you get to the point where you have somebody that the job is done, just pay them. And a lot of people nickel and dime
Mm-hmm.
because their money not right. So going into this process, you got to make sure your money is right. You're doing all these things to
Mm.
vet people to ultimately get your team together. So my team consists,
Right.
like I said, landscaping person, snowplow person, handyman, contractor, and real estate agent. That's my team. I don't need to go up there that often.
Yeah. Yeah.
When my tenants reach out, hey, something's going wrong, my property management software coordinates the whole repair. If it's
Mm.
something that falls within the handyman capacity, it goes to my handyman. If it's something that we really
Exactly.
need an electrician, I have a list of electricians that they call. I really don't have to be involved. So
Right.
now it's not free. It's not a free service, but it's way cheaper than paying a
Way
property
cheaper than a
manager.
property man.
Way cheaper. Way cheaper.
Exactly. I've like after this year, I'm like, okay, I'm not getting a property manager because like my first year, I wanted to see exactly how it was going to go with me managing an out of state property, but all the money I saved is just it makes it's completely worth it to not have a property manager, and I feel like as the future goes on, it's going to be a lot more companies in that lane where they'll manage your properties, pretty much manage your properties, will let you self manage it through them. That'll be a lot cheaper than hiring a property manager.
And I think that's part of the reason why it's because I hear a lot of horror stories with property managers is because they know that more and more people are self-managing and they got to make their money. You know what I'm saying? Like
They got to
that
be
they're
right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just hard to deal with it, especially if you're a smaller scale operation. You're not bringing,
Right.
dozens of properties into their business. It's like, who are you? I'm doing all this work for a few hundred
Exactly.
dollars. That's nothing. So you got to be mindful of that when it comes to property management. So that's key. What would you
Mhm.
say is your ideal property? Like, do you typically look at single family, multifamily? What's your thoughts on the ideal property for Section 8?
I like the single family space. I wouldn't be opposed to a multifamily 2 to 4 unit property. Honestly, I probably wouldn't be opposed to like a townhouse or a row house. And DC is row homes, which are pretty much townhomes. I just usually in townhouse communities, there's like an HOA or some
Yep.
type of fee, like condo fee. Like I stay away from condos. If the HOA fee is too high, I
Yeah,
don't
right.
even consider it. I try to avoid HOA communities altogether. So usually it's just single family homes that are not in HOAs. I try to stay away from flood zones. I do have a house that's in a flood zone, and by the time I realized it, it was like
Too
it
late.
was almost like you close in a week, so you got to get flood insurance. So I do have one with flood zone. Actually, I just had to. They just took a big check out of my escrow account for the flood insurance for this coming
Wow.
year. But yeah, I try to stay away from flood zones and HOAs, and I do love the single family homes.
It's funny you say that. When I started my investment journey, multifamily was like top of mind. I was just like, man, multifamily, you buy one property, you got this many units in it. And the moment I heard a noise complaint, it changed everything for me. I was like, "Oh, no, no, no,
Right.
no, 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 no. Like this is not my ideal situation because yes, it sounds nice, right? You got all these units in one
hmm
property, but you got to remember it's different families, different cars coming in and out.
Right.
People, like you said, the noise, the garbage. Those are the
hmm
things that you have to deal with. And I feel more like a landlord when I deal with multifamily versus an investor with single family. And me
Right. Right.
personally, I want to feel
hmm
like the investor at all times. So I
Exactly.
do have I do have a multifamily property, and it's a beautiful property, absolutely beautiful. But it's upstairs, downstairs, so they're on top of each other. And I would say if I would buy
Okay.
another multifamily, I would have to do a side by side. Because at least that way I don't have to
Okay.
worry about them interacting that much, using the same entry
Mm,
door. I wouldn't want that
right.
at all. I also like the one for
Yeah.
one relationship with a single family. I can say, oh, yeah, this house on Cherrywood Lane, that's Tim's house. You see what I'm saying? Like, I can
Right.
associate every
hmm
property with a family versus I got four
Right. Right.
families in
Right.
one property. You see what I'm saying? So I
Exactly.
think
Yeah.
yeah, I
That
think
makes
that's my
sense.
preference. Well, what final thoughts or advice you can share with the audience? Because I mean, you dropped so much great information, so I really appreciate it. So the floor is yours.
Oh, again, thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it. Final thoughts. I would say with Section 8, like we said, it's a huge stigma with it. It's a lot of misconceptions. Just do your own research. I had to do it. Like I was coming from a place of ignorance at one point, and it's understandable because that's all you hear about Section 8. But yeah, get educated and get some actual knowledge from guys like Moses the Mentor. You could go to my YouTube channel and get knowledge on Section 8. And I will say this also. It comes to a point in time where you can watch every single YouTube video you want. You can join my course and watch the video 100 times. Eventually, it does come to a point where you have to take some action too.
There you
So,
go.
eventually, you have to take a step out on faith and actually move towards actually investing. I try to encourage people to take action, like get
Yeah.
educated, but also take action. Don't just keep getting educated, and then don't never use the knowledge that you've accumulated over all this time. It might be out of your comfort zone, and it might give you some anxiety because real estate is like it's already expensive. It's not like stocks where you could just throw $1,000 at and then see what happens. Real estate is some big chunks of money, so it's understandable to have anxiety. It's understandable to be kind of fearful of it, but eventually you do want to take the next step in your investing journey.
Very true. Because I read all the books before I started, and I promise you, until I actually bought a property, me and my wife, it opened our eyes like, oh yeah, we don't want to do that, or we need to do this. You got to get in there so you know
Right.
like what fits your personality, what will drive you, because the book is going to showcase what was important to that person. You got to feel it and experience it
Exactly.
yourself. That's pretty much where it's
Yeah,
at.
experience is the best teacher. At the end of the day, you'll learn way more from experience than you'll learn from a course or a book. So experience is the best teacher. So
How can we reach you? So shout out your website, your YouTube channel, and your social media.
YouTube is Tim Leak. You can just type in Tim Tim then Leak Leak. I should pop right up. Same thing for Instagram, Tim Leak underscore, and I also have an Instagram more so related. Like that's Tim Leak underscore is my personal Instagram. Then I have a real estate Instagram is the real estate couple underscore, and that's me and my wife because she's an agent as well. So we're giving all types of knowledge and information on that channel. It's in all of my descriptions on my YouTube channel. You'll be able to find it.
It was great to hear that some of the things that I learned through trial and error, that I was on the right track. Because
Mm-hmm.
talking to you, it was like, wow, we really are doing something positive in the space of Section 8 investing, and we're not even in the same market. So I hope that we stay
Right.
connected, and I hope that people really listen in and reach out to myself, reach out to Tim, because the stigma of Section 8, it's just really not, it's not it. So we really got to get in
Right.
front of it and take advantage of this opportunity to earn quality income, and also at the same time help people who need quality housing. I think this is a good cause.
Right.
So appreciate it, man.
Yep. Yep. And thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for having me on your platform. I really appreciate it, bro.
All right, no problem.